I'd argue that the most worthwhile things in life involve pressure. Interviewing for your dream job, asking your future wife for her number, kicking a game-winning field goal in the Super Bowl. But when it comes to preparing for these important high-pressure moments, most of the advice boils down to practice more. And that's fine, but even NFL kickers who practice for thousands of hours and have taken hundreds of thousands of kicks in their lives still miss. So the hypothesis is that there has to be a way other than practice to help our brains deal with pressure. We went through dozens of studies and tons of data. We even interviewed an NFL kicker, and in typical Wise Down fashion, we were wrong. It turns out it's not about how much you practice, it's more about how you practice. Let's start here. Pressure is anything that makes your performance matter. A field goal to win the game is more pressure than a field goal when you're already up by 20, let's say. Pressure can be a good thing. This study gave monkeys rewards as they scored points in a video game. As the rewards got better, the monkeys got more motivated, and so they were more successful. This also happens in humans. When something matters more, you feel more pressure, you try harder. Until something goes wrong. Let's go back to the monkeys. We see better reward and more success. Better reward, more success. Better reward. Wait a minute. This is choking. It's when pressure becomes bad for you. And the whole point of this video is to figure out how we can avoid choking. The first problem is that pressure is more complicated than we thought. The NFL player is under something called monitoring pressure, which happens to simple behaviors that you've practiced a ton, so much they've become automatic. For the NFL kicker, that's a field goal. Monitoring pressure is caused by being judged or evaluated. You get in your head and you start overthinking this movement that you've done 100 different times before. Now, that movement is no longer automatic and you start to make mistakes. This is called choking via explicit monitoring. Think about it like walking. There's a million things you do in a specific order when you walk, but you don't think about them, you just do them. If you actually take a second to try to think about all the little things you do, walking becomes very difficult. At the same time, you and I are dealing with a different kind of pressure. We deal with pressure for more complicated tasks, like problems on a big test or job interview questions. In these tasks, we're focused on the outcomes or the results. That causes outcome pressure. We name things in science. Think of your brain like the drive between the grocery store and the fridge. The grocery store has anything you could ever want, but if you want to make something right now, you only have access to the limited options in your fridge. This is how your brain treats memory. Your brain stores a ton of information in long-term memory. You're not thinking about it, but it's there. When you need specific information, it brings it from the grocery store to the fridge so that it can be easily accessed. This is a process called recall. The fridge can only store a few things, between like 3 and 5 for most people. So when you and I are in an interview, we go to the store and we grab all the useful information about our old job experience and why we'd be a great fit at the company, and apparently how many piano tuners are in the world. And we put that information in the fridge so it's easy to access during the interview. But remember, we're under outcome pressure. We're thinking about the result, and that takes up precious fridge space. That means our memory can't hold as much useful information, and in turn, our performance suffers. This is called choking via distraction. Instead of being too much in your head like the NFL player was under monitoring pressure, instead, we're out of our heads. We're not focused. Another theory is that worrying about results causes stress and anxiety, which can cause choking via over-arousal. And what sucks worse is that for most tasks, you're probably worried about your results, and you're overthinking, and you're stressed out. And pressure stacks on top of itself. So you're dealing with all of the pressure at the same time. And because each different type of pressure has its own neural mechanisms, different stuff happening in your brain, like, you're fucked. This is Maddox Trujillo. He's an NFL player, and he has recorded one of the longest field goals in college football history. I believe that NFL kickers are under the most pressure in sports. So how do they deal with it? Well, Maddox said 2 things that really stuck with me. First, he said that he doesn't really feel pressure anymore. It's still there, but he's just used to it. And the data backs him up. One study tested basketball players to see if training under pressure reduced anxiety. One group practiced like normal, and the other group competed for money during practice or had cameras that were being watched by experts, anything to increase the anxiety during practice. After 5 weeks, both groups tested their free throws. And what's weird is that both groups had the same anxiety levels, but the group that had trained under pressure didn't let it affect their performance. Essentially, it's not about reducing the stress or anxiety that comes with pressure, it's about being ready for it. For Maddox, that means practicing in such a way that there are no surprises on game day, like ever. He has coaches blast crowd noise right behind him when he's taking kicks. He's had water poured on him. He even runs to the sideline so that he can run onto the field before practicing a kick, because that's what happens in games. Maddox is insanely dialed to every single possible variable. And he has to be. An extra point at 33 yards taken down the middle has a margin of error of about 5.3 degrees on either side when it comes off the foot. For reference, watch. This is a clock. The angle between 12 o'clock and 12:01 is 6 degrees. We originally had this idea because we, and it seemed like the rest of the world, were confused why NFL kickers are missing field goals. They train for this, it should be easy. But when you realize how hard that is and how good you have to be to make it to the NFL, you kind of realize NFL kickers in general don't miss. So the original hypothesis was that NFL kickers practice a lot, but they still miss. So practice isn't enough to fix choking under pressure. But having that level of success with such a low margin of error kind of disproves the whole premise. So maybe practice is enough, but we're doing it wrong. The problem goes back to the beginning. Pressure is insanely variable. It depends on task difficulty and environment and who's watching and context. How do you possibly account for every variable? I propose to you our new hypothesis. The closer our practice relates to the real thing, the better that practice becomes at acclimating us to pressure. The new goal is not to get rid of pressure. We now know that's impossible, and it's not really the point. Instead, we want to be ready for it. For Maddox, that means practicing in loud stadiums. It means coming in from the sidelines. It means having water dumped on you right before you kick, just in case it rains on game day. For you and I, it might mean instead of practicing for a job interview in our sweats at the kitchen table, it might mean putting the suit on, going to the library to a room you've never been in before and practicing there. The more variables we get used to in practice, the fewer surprises we see on metaphorical game day, which frees up fridge space and helps us perform better under pressure. And just so you know, there's about 11,000 piano tuners in the world. There you go, there's a variable. Vince Lombardi famously said, "Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect." If we know the important parts of life are going to involve some pressure, we might as well be preparing the right way. Good luck on your pressure moments. If you're interested in the real neuroscience and psychology of improvement, then that's what we're doing here. If you've already subscribed, thank you. And if you'd like to, then that button's down below. Good luck, everybody.